Hey makers, this is Yana with Mockys, and today I have an interview with Sherrie, who's been a baker for over 30 years and has lots of tips for us. She has tips from social media to time management and other business needs. Now, you too can be a guest and share your story. Just go ahead and fill out my form at mockys.com/guest, and I will get back to you. Now, let's go ahead and meet Sherrie. Hi, everybody. So we have Sherrie right here. Hi, Sherrie. How are you?
I'm doing well. How are you?
Good, good. Thank you. So I know you had a long baking career. Why don't you share with us about your career?
Sure. I had, oddly enough, it was a random start. I didn't kind of like go into the world thinking I want to be a baker one day. I was just out of college and was looking for a job, and my mom happened to overhear a baker was leaving at a local grocery store, and they needed somebody in. So I had already had the basics back in the day. J.C. Penney's used to teach classes.
Oh,
So I'd had some of the beginning cake decorating lessons there, and they agreed to train me retail, which is a totally different beast from everything else because you're constant high volume, the whole thing kind of thing. Ran the gamut on that grocery store for the first 5 years, thinking this is fun. I like to do it. I make more money than minimum wage because I'm a skilled laborer. And then 10 years in, I thought, well, okay, I like doing this job. It still pays me good money. And then, you just kind of keep on going. At 15, I kind of like, I think this is a career. I still enjoy doing it. But yeah, towards the 20-year mark, I'm like, yeah, this is my career. This is what I'm doing. And having gone through multiple businesses, companies and such with baking management and doing the donuts and the whole thing, realized they were making more money on me than I was. So decided to branch out and open my own home-based business. I'm in Missouri, so at the time it required licensing and everything. So we were due for the next house. So we bought the house specifically with the needs in mind of the separate entrance and the whole dedicated space. So I
oh,
have a
that's
single car.
awesome.
Yeah, it was a huge blessing. My brother was a jack of all trades, and so he came in and built out the shop for me. So that was huge, and so I worked from home for about 18 years when the kids were 5 and up, and I was able to do that and be able to have the more flexibility because retail they start saying, oh, we need you here every single Saturday and Sunday. You just can't do it so easily with kids. So I did that for the good 18 years at home and loved it. It was a good run.
Wow, that's an awesome ladder to climb and all the things to. So, how would you say things have shifted? I bet from way back in the days to how things are run now. Is there something that like that really back in the days you like now, oh wow, these people right now who are starting out, they have it made.
They do, and if they just tap into it, there's so much more extra advantage because of technology. When I started, the the silicone lace mats weren't invented yet, and some of the products that we use now were not around and not available to us. The automated bookkeeping, all of those things that make life easier was not even a thing at the time. And so yeah, it's been huge fun to be able to watch the progress of technology, either uh, on the bakery side of it or on the equipment side of it and the whole thing. Sorry. But yeah, some of the technology stuff that's available now to them, I wish I had. There's a lot of changes all the time.
So when you just first started as a baker, what was something that was more challenging than what you expected?
Growth was my hardest part, I think, because you put all this love and heart into the building the space and you get everything set up and your investment of stuff, and you get there and you're like, the doors are open, they're all going to come flowing in, just everything's going to be easy. And it was not. It takes a lot of hustle and a lot of networking, a lot of just putting it out there and trying to decide which way to go as far as your marketing budget goes, and actually being willing to put that marketing budget out there, or even doing it the hard way, just flat out passing out samples at random and trying to do some other things. There's a lot of ways to go about it, but that was my hardest thing, I think, is recognizing the work part of work Uh,
It wasn't just baking after all, right?
it is not just baking. Yeah. I mean, I knew there'd be some, but I was blind.
Did you hire a assistant or a team or anybody to help you out with any of the things?
I never did. Over the course of time, I never did hire an assistant. Just kind of a one woman shop. I didn't branch out into needing more things. My kids would come in as they were teens and they would help me do the bridal shows, and they were very good at it. My son is an excellent salesman, so he would be able to charm the ladies and talk about the different stuff. And he was always really good about, being able to sample the cake and give me feedback on texture and quality and moisture and all of the stuff, because I actually have celiac, so I couldn't eat my own product. So he learned to be able to hone it in on the details. But yeah, and then they would help with the shows. That was a good deal. And my sister, she would help with the shows, but the rest of it was all me.
Well, yeah, that's a lot to take on, but we're so grateful to have family that is there to help out and not just watch from the sidelines, but jump in. That is so nice.
Right.
Um, if you were to start your business up again right now, fresh from the beginning, what would you do differently?
Given the knowledge that I have now from then, that I think a lot of it would be scheduling less and asking for more. Being able to kind of reverse engineer the income goals so that they fit my life better would be more specific. Sometimes at the beginning you would take every single order that walked through the door just because you were afraid of that next one not showing up, and like recognizing that it will come. You just need to figure out how to generate it. I would try to tune my business more to my life. Something that, and you hear a lot about it today, being present and being, all of these things for your business, but still having a life. Where I'm a child of the 80s. We were taught to work. You work, 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 and that was it. So having that total shift in mindset is fabulous for the people who are starting out now. I would totally make it a very mindful business.
That's awesome. Yeah, I mean, it, as a business owner, any business owner, you think, oh, I got a client, I gotta meet their needs no matter what. But you went into the business for yourself to have that freedom, correct? From not, you know, being at a job and having that rigid schedule. So yeah,
Mm.
it's hard kind of balancing work and life with that. I totally understand where you're coming from. Um, you mentioned about marketing and the advantages of the current technology. How would you do you recommend anything, or would you say something that works for you that you would?
A lot of it, there are so many platforms on social media now, and it really comes down to just picking two, maybe three tops that are your personal favorite. It's really hard to do it all, and you can't do it all. And then you end up toe stretched out and you're not doing enough to stay on any one particular media in order to make an impact. So if you chose Facebook, Instagram, and even TikTok, you have video platform opportunities on every single one, and you can easily cross post across every single one. So being able to get yourself a scheduler so you can schedule your media and do your things and kind of mass produce it on Mondays or whatever, so that it's trickle feeded through the week, to make it easy. You overthink it and you're like, oh my gosh, I'm spending 3 hours a day on social media, and it shouldn't be that way. And then I think, for people who don't like to be on camera, get over it. It practice, practice, practice with yourself, and then you'll eventually get to where you can do it well and tolerate it, because they want to know you. They want to see what you're doing. They want to see behind the scenes. They want the sneak peeks. They want the little details, and to be able to show all that stuff as a baker and show what gets you excited as a baker, that gets them excited. Because honestly, people who are outside the baking world, they don't get it. It's like that with any industry. There's
It's
a passion in there, and other people don't have that passion because they have their own thing going. So you need to show them yours, and that's kind of like the biggest thing with social.
I love that. Show your passion through video. Very
Hmm.
very well put. Yep, love it. Do you have any tips for bakers who like want to make that time for themselves, but for some reason keep just finding clients who are just lowballing them. So how would you find higher paying clients so you can have that extra time and not say yes to every single client that just walks through the doors?
Right. It's kind of multifold with that idea. People always try to say, I want to go get that high end client. Somebody's going to pay me $5,000 for a wedding. That doesn't happen very often. And it's kind of like you can relate it to the football players. Everybody loves to go play football, but only the top people are making the mega bucks. In the meantime, focus on what you're doing. When you have a bride or couple that has a larger order, spend a little extra time curating the relationship, trickle feed them the sneak peeks. And then afterwards, you hold back some of your photos so you can share with them later and say, hey, remember this? I really love this aspect of your wedding. And then, add it to more social posts and tag them in everything to keep yourself top of mind. Because I've had clients come back the year later. I would always do a 6-inch cake for their first anniversary, fresh made for them. And when they came, sometimes they like forget who I was. They're like, oh, was it you that did it? Oh, wait, I need to get my anniversary cake, because they totally forgot me. So trying to find a way to stay top of mind so that they do come back for other orders or remember you more specifically when their friends start getting married, because people kind of tend to travel in flocks. So your larger, people will there. But a lot of it is putting it out there. If you do bridal shows, invest in that money to do the giant dummy, the big 6-tier, whatever, massive cake to show. That can be a really cool choice for your wedding.
Do you think that a lot of the way the shows and everything is conducted now because of the COVID changes and regulations that less people would show up to those shows?
I have not been to any shows since COVID, so I do not have that point of reference. In Kansas City, we seem to be a little looser than other parts of the country as far as large gatherings. We still have people coming in concert with like 5,000 of your closest friends. And, we're a little weird out here, I guess. But it just depends on your area. Reach out to some of the conventioneer locations and say, hey, what kind of traffic do you think you're going to get, and see what they say. Because COVID, I can't even imagine having to deal with this in business and stuff. I have a different business, but yeah, that would be very different. And maybe you need to do just smaller places. I had more success doing a country club that has golf. They would do their own little bridal shows. I had more success with those that cost me maybe $100 than I did with the big shows that cost me $5,000. So
That's a good tip. Go local, right?
go local, and it gives you more chance to actually talk to people. Because it was a very nice country club, not too posh, but not still good enough to get the average consumer in there. But you have more time to talk, because the big shows, it's a little tricky, because sometimes they go around and taste everybody cake and they come back and say yours was the best. And they come back for samples and that was fantastic. And then you call them the next day and they're like, which one were you? And I'm like, I was the best, dude.
Would you give some kind of takeaways with those shows so they would remember that you were the best, or that how would you differentiate yourself from the others?
I think I did about 10 shows over the course of time, initially to kind of get the ball rolling. And then eventually I did phase them out and just started doing the smaller ones. The big shows, it's really about the pre-marketing, because you got the email list beforehand. Hey, I'm going to be at the show. Come and see me. Do the live feeds. Hey, I'm going to be at the show. Come and see me. Doing the same thing after. It's a lot of repetition to get your ROI out of the big shows. It can be done. Some people are on it and they can be really focused about making sure they follow through with every single aspect of a show. But it is a huge amount of work on the front end and the back end, because a lot of times the couples that would come in to see the shows are maybe getting married next year or the year after that.
Right.
So you've got a
Always
2-year
looking ahead.
lead. Right. You've got a 2-year lead to gain that couple.
Right. Right. Um. Well, since you've been in your career for such a long time, I'm sure there were some exciting cakes or goods that you've made and some not so exciting. What was the most exciting that you worked on?
I think my favorite one was the stained glass cakes, all
Ooh.
fondant covered, and then you go back in with black royal icing and drawing in the design. It was either hummingbirds and flowers. I did another one that was an under the sea theme wedding, and she had sea turtles. And then so you paint it all in, draw it all in with the black royal icing, let it dry, and then come back and paint it on with powder dust and alcohol and make it into a paint like texture, and then literally paint in the entire things. The pictures are still out there. They're on my Facebook page or maybe my website. But that
Oh,
was some of my
I would definitely link your site below so everybody can check
oh,
that out.
thanks.
That sounds amazing.
Thanks. Yeah, that was my favorite. That and old school. Since I was way back in the day with the beginning of Wilton, I love the rows and rows of lace and ruffles and petals and the sugar work with the tiny baskets and stuff like that. Those things get me excited.
That's definitely sounds very intricate and delicate, and I'm sure the results were amazing when the
Mm.
people received their cakes and probably something they don't even want to eat.
Right, right. Yeah, yeah. Yeah, that's the one thing about cake people. The instant gratification is very satisfying because they get their cake and they're excited.
Of course, yeah, of course. Um, I know you mentioned that you switched your careers a bit. What are you focusing on now?
So currently, I'm kind of doing two different things. I've realized that you can take the girl out of the bakery, but you can't take the bakery out of the girl. And I really love because we have a very strong group in our Kansas City area of bakers that I pretty much grew up with. I've known them for the 30 years. We've always been good, supportive of each other. We back each other up on deliveries, or if somebody's ill or things like that, we kind of always pitch in to help each other out. And so it's a really good community. And I've in talking to other people, I've realized that a lot of places aren't like that. Other cities, other
Yeah.
zones. So being able to talk shop with somebody, talk about the business aspect of the bakery is something that I really love to do. So I've kind of started doing the bakery consulting, and I've set up a 6 or 8 week course, and it's really getting to know the person, what their problems are, what their biggest challenges are, and curating that program to their needs specifically. So it's not just a course that somebody's force feeding you. I want it to be very personalized and work from that point. And it can be done virtually, so it doesn't have to be somebody that's local to me, which is really cool about Zoom because everybody knows how to Zoom now.
Everybody's unknown, that's for sure. What do you find that the new bakers struggling with the most currently? What is their biggest struggle right now?
I I think a lot of it depends on skill level. It's either trying to find the skill level and making sure they have something that's marketable, or maybe they struggle with overdoing it, trying to take on too many orders instead of just saying, okay, I can only really manage 3 orders a week at this point because of my skill level. It's taking
Mm.
me 6 hours to do a cake where I would probably knock it out in 45. So they're
Oh, yeah.
overestimating their skill level. I was trained in the retail level, so 100 cakes a day was nothing to me. But when I came home to do it here, I'm like, wow, this cake has taken me an hour. I'm like, what is the deal? So it's very different, trying to find that balance in your time versus your skill.
So when you say like going from retail to going to home, is it because at home people request more intricate things that take more time and more delicate versus being in retail where everything looks the same, going over and over and over?
I think for me, it was trying to differentiate myself from retail to home and being very much more special, curated kind of thing. So I
Mhm.
found myself putting way more time into it. So in the business plan, I was thinking I can do X amount of orders. But then when it really came down to the nicer details, the finer
Yeah.
work, and trying to make it way better than what somebody would get at the grocery store. I discovered it was a little more time involved than what I had originally thought it would be. So that was an interesting surprise.
Yeah. Well, that's awesome. I'm very excited that I got a chance to talk to you and get somebody with so many years of experience and, going, like I said, evolution of technology and things that people have now in their hands and don't know how to use or are overwhelmed
Right.
to use.
Hmm.
Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely.
It's almost like you need to just pick one thing a week or a month and just train yourself. You say, okay, this month I'm going to learn how to do X, Y, and Z, and it has to be something that will help streamline your business because once it starts getting really busy, it's very hard to keep up. And I did the 80-hour week work weeks even at home, and I'm like, this is not what I was supposed to be doing.
Do you recommend any scheduling or any app or tool that currently is out there?
Yes, I've talked to some new bakers, and they do a lot of, if you have simple orders, and they do a lot of weekly orders that customers would come in and get just a 8-inch dinner cake, like a German chocolate cake or something. She automated ordering on her website. So people could just order all that up. She'd set it in so there was a deadline, so there was no last minute orders. And people could literally just order those simple cakes through her website. And I'm like, that is fabulous because it takes out all the extra details and stress and work with some of the things that's, simple daily production. And then like a scheduler for order or for consultations would have been handy to put either on the website or through Facebook. But I had a fear I would end up being booked when I wasn't prepared to be booked. Later on, I realized that I can set up a specific calendar and they can pick from dates, and then I would just get the notification for scheduling the consultation because people don't want to call.
Yeah,
People
nowadays
don't want to.
everything's on the phone with just
Yeah,
messaging. Yeah.
I'm like, can you call so I can ask a few questions? And they're like, maybe, So if I had an automated scheduler where they could fill out the basic questions about the wedding, I could schedule the consult, and that would have been way easier, and it shortened the distance of first contact to consult. And,
Right.
and it's all about automation.
Awesome. Awesome. Well, I mean, you have anything else to add? It was really great information to talk to you.
Well, thanks. Really, it's just about trying to find solutions to the pain points you have in your life. Whether you come and talk to me or whether you do it on your own. If you sit down and you think about your week and you say, okay, I'm really struggling with this aspect, then sit down and take a minute, find the solution for yourself, and put it into your habits because it takes 3 weeks to make a habit. So every month you make one new habit, and then you can move on and have a little less stress in your job.
Always welcome less stress, of course. Well, thank you so much. I will definitely include all your information, how people can contact you and maybe get some consultation with you. I'm going to include everything under the video so they can reach to you. Thank you
I
so much.
appreciate that.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Hey, makers, this is. Come on.